This is not a good sign because in game development, whenever leadership leaves right before the launch of a game, you know things are not going well over there. And this departure is massive because the CEO of Bungie, Pete Parsons, is the one leaving the studio. And this comes right off the heels of recent news that Bungie has been losing their independence from Sony after missing massively on their financial targets, up to 50% over the past couple years. If you guys didn't know, Pete Parsons is one of the original Bungie guys. He worked there way back during Halo 2 as an executive producer and studio manager. He did leave during Halo 3 during that pre-production to go work on his own company, then came back to Bungie to work with Destiny 2 as part of the board of directors, eventually lifted him up to CEO of back in 2016, which is crazy to think that someone who worked on some of the most iconic games in first-person shooter history has missed so badly since they become CEO of the company. I mean, he really joined that company rejoined them back in 2008 and then became CEO. So like the leader of the entire ship back in 2016, right about the launch of Destiny 2, which Destiny 2's launch, well, was not very well received. Though they did quickly right the ship when it came to the first big DLC drop for Destiny 2. I played it a ton, it was fun, but I just kind of lost interest over time, and I think it's kind of fallen with a lot of people as well. And that's because the recent DLCs that have come for Destiny 2 just have not really been that great, really hit or miss. You know, a lot of people saying just pass on this one, pick up this one, and it's been going on like this for so long that I think a lot of people have just kind of checked out, and this is why Bungie has been missing their targets, and Sony has been starting to slowly take their tentacles into the studio and run things a little bit more. Though it's nice to see that with this recent message from Pete Parsons talking about passing the torch in this blog right here, that a new CEO is coming in of Justin Truman, who's been with Bungie for so long. So at least it's still a Bungie employee running things over there at Bungie. But I mean, how much of a leadership are they going to have from Bungie? Because, yeah, like I said earlier, those days of independence are getting lighter. And things have just been really rough with Bungie, with Pete Parsons in the head of things, right? I remember this story a couple of years ago, last year, where Bungie CEO faces backlash after announcing 220 employee layoffs, which, yeah, layoffs happen, makes sense. But the way Pete was spending his money, well, that deserves some backlash because apparently Pete spent $2.4 million on classic cars, which is, by the way, 220 employees is 17% of their workforce. That is a massive cut. And to see how he's having to let people go and basically drop people from their dream jobs to make sure they can fund his car collection is what it looks like. Best summarized by this tweet saying Bungie lays off 17% of its workforce. Unrelated, this is a list of cars the CEO has bought on a platform here. Now, he has recently changed his name. This is his old account that he used to buy his cars on, but you can kind of get the gist of like the expensive cars he was purchasing. Like this one, like 90,000, not too crazy. But if you scroll down a little bit more, this Porsche over here, $201,000 for a car. Like this is a wild list of vehicles that this guy's been purchasing. And it's like, you see this guy living high on the hog, basically. $201,000 for this Mustang, which, I mean, it's a nice looking Mustang. But you know what looks nicer? Keeping your employees. Now, I will say, yes, he's the CEO. He worked his way up there. You know, he deserves to live life nicely, right? Like, you worked hard, you earned your money, and you got to be able to reap the reward and the riches of what you've sowed, right? So it makes sense, like, not saying that you can't buy nice things. That's just not how this works. But I'm saying, like, if you're still buying a lot of really nice things and yet your studio is struggling, you're losing employees, I'm just going to point it out that this does not look good on you as a leader when you're dropping millions of dollars on just what toys you like to have and losing hundreds of employees at the same time. It's not a good look. And the timing behind this is very interesting. Like I talked about leaving right before one of your major project releases of, well, another Destiny DLC, which are always on the rise. But also you got to think about the next game they're looking to release that they've invested a lot of time and money into, and that's Marathon. And we've definitely have covered in depth when it comes to the drama that's been going on with this game and how I still feel like there's potential there for Marathon to do something fun, but they just need more time to do it. And it seems like they're probably not going to get the time that they need to really make Marathon a game that's worth playing, especially from a AAA studio where all you're releasing is just a basic multiplayer extraction shooter. it's not gonna cut it nowadays, especially when it comes to these other extraction shooters that have been out there for years, be able to be feature rich and have everything you expect to have and play honestly better and be more exciting to play than what Marathon has to offer. And this is coming from those AA studios. This AAA studio should be able to do so much more, but they're not. But there's a very interesting thing about the Bungie Sony deal, which I think is really kind of coming to fruition right now. And it has to really just do everything about the money, because a critical aspect of the Sony Bungie deal was the vesting of stock. Basically, this is a way to maintain your workforce in a studio and basically say, hey, if you stay longer, your vesting of your stocks will increase so you get more money. So with the acquisition taking place in 2022, you can kind of see like, oh, he has a lot of money now. So when you line things up like the independence of Bungie getting lighter with Sony, Bungie struggling financially, missing their targets up to 45 to 50% over the last few years. And I mean, these cars aren't gonna pay for themselves. You can kind of see how Pete seems to be just kind of taking the money and running with it. Now, I'm sure a lot of people out there were like, no, he was forced out. CEOs just never want to leave, which definitely seems to be the case that CEOs never really get fired. They kind of get asked to leave. But I think Paul Tassi in his recent article really puts it in perspective about really what's going on with the whole Bungie situation and Pete Parsons leaving, saying, however, the narrative that because of the studio's problems, Parsons was forced out by Sony, almost certainly not the case. It was overwhelmingly likely that this is the result of the Sony deal to purchase Bungie. That purchase saw vested stock deals for executives and Bungie veterans that were up usually in either 3 or 5 years. Now remember that time I told you, 2022 was this when this Bungie deal happened. So things are kind of starting to line up here, right? And also, I gotta let you guys know that Paul Tassi knows his stuff. He's a big Bungie fan, plays a lot of Destiny, so he knows his stuff when it comes to this stuff right here. And also saying, meaning those deals could walk away with big goodbye packages of millions or tens of millions after that point in time. If that's what Parsons did, this is easily tens of millions. Sony bought Bungie back in July of 2022. It's now August of 2025. 3 years, 1 month after the purchase, you can kind of do the math. And this is, I think, what's going on. Like Parsons is just like wiping his hands like, dude, things are a mess right now. I'm out. A true sign of leadership. And this I'm kind of rounding back to my initial point of the video is that whenever you see leadership leaving a studio right before a major release of a game, say we're here for Marathon, it's just not a good sign, especially with the minimal extra amount of time that we covered previously with Marathon, that they're really only getting like an extra 6 months to be able to release this game. And if not ready by that time, likely could be canceled. And we talked about it in a previous news article here on the channel. So if you guys want to stay up to date with all things Halo, Marathon, Bungie, and pretty much our general gaming related stuff, make sure you follow the channel. I'll catch you on the next one. Peace out.